Very big welcome to Vicki Lucas, the Enliven Services Manager from Presbyterian Support. It's nice to have you aboard here, Vicki. Well, listen, tell us a little bit about Enliven for those in the audience that don't know. What do Enliven do?
Enliven is a brand of Presbyterian Support. It's our older person services. The other brand is Family Works, which is our children and family services. So Presbyterian Support's been around for more than 110 years now, and we are a social service agency independent of the church, but we have strong connections with the church, mainly through our volunteers.
And you don't get any government funding at all, or do you?
We are contract funded, so we are our own charity, but we do have contract funds through the DHB, Ministry of Education, MSD, so there's a lot of contracts that we have too.
That's good to know. Yeah, that's good to know. But of course, being a community service, it's important that the community are involved with you as well, from a support point of view. Well, how has it been during the COVID lockdown? How has that impacted your services to the community?
Well, we locked down as everyone else did. Our day programs are, we contacted our clients and on the days that they would normally attend, so that there was someone ringing in every week, and some people had more than one call if needed. Some we did distance visiting with, so we stood on the driveway and talked through the window kind of thing. Some we did some shopping, some grocery drop-offs. Our social worker actually started doing food parcels to some of his clients in Haranui, and ended up doing food parcels 2-3 times a week, and that's actually continued right up to this week. We relieved him with somebody else doing that driving around, but that's been really nice to support the Waipara Food Bank up there.
That's wonderful. So you've sort of created another role in the community, if you like.
Yeah, we're back to normal though, so I have to grab that driver back and put him back in the day program so that he can carry on with his normal work. But
very easy to get distracted, isn't it? During times like these.
And they're in a great need too for drivers.
So how have the older people or your clients, how have clients coped during the lockdown? Have they been okay?
Some have coped really well and enjoyed the company of having the time together without any distractions of people coming in, and they've made the most of it. And for some others, it has been difficult because, as we get older, we unfortunately deteriorate, and so that's been hard for those people to see forward out of that, really.
Well, because many of them would have been alone. Is it fair to say
right.
Quite a lot of them alone? And that's one of the saddest things, of course. But being in the community, and many of them, of course, are within our own community, what are some tips you could give people for supporting older people in the community?
Well, being a good neighbour is a fantastic thing. Just knocking on the door, checking in that they're okay. Do they have someone popping in to see them? I think this lockdown thing has really sort of made more people a little disconnected from their community because they haven't been allowed out. So now is a time to re-engage with people, and for some that might take some time. Some have not been out of the house yet, so we've just got to be aware of that and just be patient.
Yes, I think that's a very important thing. That also you don't want to be too gung-ho. You don't want to be going up the drive and banging on the door and suddenly you're here like someone with a cape on.
No.
One of the things you can do is a bit more subtle, is perhaps pop a note through their letterbox saying, I live next door. If you don't know them, a little introduction, and say, look, if there's anything you need, here's my number. Give me a call.
Or we can bake cakes now, so we could.
Well, exactly.
We could take a cake.
You could take a cake or some biscuits or something. That's always a nice thing to do. And I think it is important. We were speaking off air about supporting your neighbours, and I think it's important to know who your neighbours are in the event something happens.
Yeah.
We're all very aware of disasters. We've been through those, and of course they're not going to go away.
No.
But getting good habits back into our lives by supporting those in the community that are a bit more vulnerable. What does the future look like for Enliven now?
Well, I could briefly talk about our services, if that's
Please
okay.
do, yes.
We have Rangiora Tautra Club. That's a day program for older people that runs 5 days a week. We have 3 of those in Christchurch as well. 2 of the ones in town are dementia only. This one in Rangiora is just a general club. Social work, as I spoke about the social worker who was working up in Haranui, falls prevention. They've actually started doing phone assessments just to get people started on exercises, because while they're in lockdown they could actually do some things to strengthen their lower limbs, so that would reduce their risk of falls. Home Share is a program where we have a host who hosts people coming into their home once a week, so they're also our older people, and that's like 4, 5, 6 people. That's a really nice program. Volunteer coordination. The day programs have lots of volunteers. We also have done medical driving, and during lockdown we took the cue from Oxford Community Trust about using vans. So using the van with a driver and someone right in the back, you could safely take someone to a medical appointment. So that was another wee thing we could do. Elder Care Canterbury, we have a coordinator who has a provider forum and also consumer groups. That's about to restart. She's been making connections during lockdown. We have 2 Kaiwhina workers who are affiliated to Tuhubi Marae, and they link Kaumātua with mainstream services and any other supports that they need. And PCWs, which are partnership community workers, they're based in town. One of them actually was doing welfare phone calls for the medical centres, and she rang 316 people.
That's quite a significant number of people to phone.
That's as well as her own clients. So there were some really interesting things. We did some welfare checks for the community response team out of the Civil Defence Waimea Council.
Oh, yes.
For older people, we did some drop-in checks for them. And the counselling service that we have for children and families, they were working with the wait list. Rather than having an influx, they've been working with their wait list and their current clients through that time as well. So they've been working in a different space as well. So, yeah, and we did some welfare checks for some of the GPs, and we sent out resources to clients, jokes and activities and things like that for the ones that are normally attending day program.
Keep them engaged.
Keep them going. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you just touched on there. Well, a lot of services that you're offering. You touched on there you used to do, of course, the regular runs to the hospitals and things for elderly, and so that's going to be back on again now, I take it.
Yes, and we've been doing 1 or 2 using the van, so having that distance.
Yes.
So now the Minibus Trust actually got some funds for transport, so that service hasn't been costing the clients anything.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so they've been helping Oxford Trust and also the Waipara Food Bank, because we started with our car and our social work, and now we've had their vehicle for the last month. No cost to us, no cost to anybody.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
if you're able
great.
to do that with no expense to the to the elder that need the services. So
yes.
that's fantastic.
So lots of collaboration.
Yeah, is the future? Well, if you've had this collaboration, is the future looking good for Enliven with working with other agencies?
Sure. So we were Zooming like everybody else to lots of them.
You got used to it. You haven't got your microphone on or something like that. Yes.
So you make good connections and you learn about how each other is working differently, and you can take on board some of that, and some of that work that you can work in together is really awesome. So not only locally but nationally we connected in with more Enliven people. So there's that connection now that we can email someone and say, hey, what do you do for la la la? So the collegial regional thing as well is
I think that's so important.
Better.
Yeah, so looking good for North Canterbury, really.
Yeah,
the services that are offered have had an opportunity during the COVID lockdown to coordinate with each other and offer an enhanced service, so to speak, in as much as the restrictions were allowed.
True.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. It's great to see that it's out of something like COVID-19, something positive.
Some positives.
Exactly. So what are your needs? What can the community do now to help you?
Well, we are a charity, so we are always grateful for donations, and we're also very grateful for volunteers. So the volunteers, we have volunteer visitors, volunteer drivers, and volunteers that support the Total Day program.
That's up here on the corner of King Street and High Street.
That's right.
Yes, wonderful.
Yes, so in that way, also connect in with your older people would be wonderful.
It's a big first step, isn't it? share some time, acknowledge the elder members of the community, and even if it's just a passing conversation.
Yeah, just say
that's
hi.
all. Yes, exactly. That's all it takes. Yes.
I've heard some lovely stories of neighbours looking after older people, though. There's been some really good feedback about people that they didn't know who did actually knock on the door, step back and have a bit of a chat. How you going with this and that?
Nice to know that does happen.
Yeah.
Really does.
Yeah.
It gives you a warmth all over, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Well,
I was just going to say, and the families have been great about getting your groceries for their older person in the family and making sure they've got what they need.
Oh, it's good to see that's that is indeed happening. So anyone out there, if you're finding yourself at a bit of a loss and you've got a bit of spare time, obviously your services could be used by Enliven here in North Canterbury, Presbyterian Services. Is there a telephone number they can get in contact with you on, Vicki? Have you got it with you? I don't have it with me. Isn't that terrible? I'm not prepared at all for this.
We've got a website.
Okay, well that's a good start because you can get your numbers from there, can't you? What's the website?
Enliven Upper South.
Enliven Upper South. Wonderful. .org.nz. Enliven Upper South. ENLIVEN. That's yes. So pop onto their website. There'll be telephone numbers there that they can call to get involved.
That's right.
If you want to be
0800 numbers.
0800 and you could be a driver. You could be any number of things. Even if someone wants to pop round and visit some elderly people for some company, that's something you can do as well. So, well, thank you very much, Vicki, for popping in. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and you'll come back and see us again.
Thank you very much. I'd love to.
You're very welcome. Thank you. There was Vicki Lucas, the Enliven Services Manager at Presbyterian Support Services here in North Canterbury.